Here. Yes,
Could
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, how are you all? Happy New Year, first of all. How are you?
Happy New
Good.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So our first thing to do is appoint a temporary chairman. I'm hoping this will be our last meeting. I'm hoping moving forward, we will have a fifth person and you guys could pick a chairman. But right now, Nancy again has agreed to be our temp chairman for today. So I need a motion for appointment for Nancy to be the temp and a second.
Motion.
All right,
Second.
sounds great.
Wonderful. Then I shall call the meeting, the January, today is the January 3rd meeting of the New Canaan Parking Commission to order. It is 7:03 PM. And,
Perfect.
so the first item on tonight's agenda is, let me find that, to approve, okay, you did that. Oh, this is, I don't have the agenda in front of me, sorry, gosh.
Okay,
I
so
have,
the
I
first
have the
one,
minutes.
right,
Okay, I got it, they're on my email. What's
Not
the
a
first
great
one?
record as your temporary chairman.
I know, gosh, I'm all flummoxed here. Here's the agenda. Okay, I had the minutes. Approval of the minutes. That's what I was going to say. And see, I should have just gone with it. So the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was held on November 1st, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve? Marley. And seconded by Kevin. Wonderful.
and is it a unanimous?
Sure.
Unanimous.
Okay.
yes.
Excellent. Okay, so moving on, I'm sorry, Nancy, just to our parking violation appeals. I have one of the appealees here. So we usually go first with somebody who's here. This is Miriam O. And she is here to state her appeal. I think you all have it.
Yes.
And then if you want to pull it up first, and then
This
Marian?
is the Lexus that's parked in that sort of adjacent spot to the Starbucks, kind of across from the Houlihan Lawrence. Is that right?
correct.
Mm-hmm.
No, isn't
I-
this on Park Street on the sidewalk in the?
Yeah.
I
Next
think
to
this is the
Starbucks.
sidewalk. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
sidewalk.
I do not like this parking lot generally, but add it to the list of things that,
That you
town
could-
doesn't. seem to
I
do.
second that. All right, so should I just?
yes,
say
go
my
ahead
piece?
and,
Okay.
and feel free
Yeah,
to explain
So, so,
what happened. You could,
well, yeah, thank you, by the way, for hearing my appeal. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I guess there was some miscommunication in terms of the format of this meeting. I only received the original email about the fact that it was postponed, and then I thought it was in person, so that's why I'm here. But
and we found the email that was sent, but
yeah,
she
but I
didn't
never
seem
received
to receive
it. Yeah, I mean, I was traveling internationally, so that could have been one of the reasons, but I certainly would have been, I'm happy to do it either way because it's not that inconvenient to come in person. But so as you know, as it was already stated, the situation is related to the parking on the sidewalk at Starbucks, and I wanted to appeal it because there was no sign, and I honestly did not know that it was considered not. I thought it was private property of Starbucks to park in that location because I had seen, of course, this is no excuse, but part of the reason why I thought it was okay was because I had always seen lots of vehicles in that spot. And so it is confusing that, vehicles are always parked there. In fact, I just started taking photos recently after I got my ticket just to see how often I see somebody there, because I seriously would not ever have parked there had I known it was not a legal parking spot. And so I just randomly took photos, just whenever I happened to be driving by the Starbucks location, I see a car parked there very frequently. It's either a car or a truck or some other vehicle that's constantly parked there. And so that's why I always thought that it was a legitimate space. I really apologize that I was in a, offensive in terms of the parking violation, but it was definitely not intentional, because I was actually at CVS right before I went to Starbucks, and I said, oh, I'm gonna just drive my car around to Starbucks to pick up my order. And had I known that there was the risk of, being in that spot was a violation, I never would have done that, because what I usually do is, if I see a car, if it's full, I see a car parked there, I go to the lot that is across the street, where the mailboxes are. So I never, ever would, in fact, like just parking here today, when I was parking, I made sure that I was within the lines and it was not crossing over into the handicap parking spot that is, in front of the building. So anyway, I was just, I wanted to just make the point that it seems like it's something that maybe a lot of other people are confused about. So even if I am found to be in violation, which, clearly it is a violation, but I was just an unintentional violation, I think it would be helpful to have a sign there, because so many people do it. And this was just randomly when I'm driving by Starbucks, and I just started taking photos because I said, it needs to be, I think that people need to be made aware that this is not a legitimate parking spot. I thought it was always private property of Starbucks, because so many other vehicles are constantly parked there. So that was, part of the reason for my appeal, is just to make sure that, I'm able to state my case, but even if it's, I'm found to be in violation, then that there's some sort of sign that's posted there, because so, like, again, within just a couple of weeks, these photos were taken within a couple of weeks. There's so many people who are parked there all the time. And it wasn't as if I was, trying to go every single time to find somebody who was in violation. It just happened to be that I'm driving by and there's always somebody who seems to be in that same exact spot. So that's just, what I wanted to make sure I stated my situation, but, stated my case, but also made everyone aware that it is something that I think may need to be addressed more broadly, and let people know that that is not a legitimate parking spot. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing was, when I did get the ticket, of course, the first thing I did was I went on to the New Canaan info website just to understand the parking violation. And I saw that particular violation was not even listed in the New Canaan parking, parking department list of violations and fines, because I thought it was very high relative to some of the other tickets that are issued for parking. And I was told that was just an oversight, was a mistake, but it kind of suggested to me that, again, it's something that a lot of this type of violation is maybe something that a lot of people are not aware of. And the violation or the fine seems to be double the amount of all the other fines in that category. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So anyways, thank you for at least listening to me. And hopefully, if nothing else, what comes out of this is there's a sign that's posted so people know that it's not a legitimate parking spot.
Thank you, Miriam. I appreciate that. I don't, in the documentation that we received prior to the meeting, we did not see a copy, Stacy, of the actual violation, just of the appeal. So I'm not certain what the violation, the stated.
I am sorry, it's a 47, it's called parking on the sidewalk. And the reason it was not listed is because we were updating the websites, and I just, I normally do the updates myself, and it was just not typed in.
I see.
So,
So
but it
it's
has
a
been
violation
corrected.
47 sidewalk parking, and what is that?
Parking on sidewalk, and the violation is a $50 fine.
And, just to point out again, in terms of the other fines that are in that group A category, which it would fall under, they're all $25 with the exception of 2 of them. So anyway, again, nothing else. I wanted to just hopefully have a sign posted that people know it's not a legitimate parking spot, because as I mentioned, just randomly driving by Starbucks, which I don't, I'm not on the lookout for violations, but it was just so clear, like, to me, it was.
Yeah,
like,
I
so
mean, yeah,
clear to
I
me.
think the point, like, people are lazy, right? Everyone goes to Starbucks. It's always packed in there. People park on the sidewalk because they want to run in and get their drink. I mean, but it's a sidewalk. Like, I guess I personally have had like 2 very bad experiences where I've had to walk children into the road to get around cars parked on the sidewalk. So I'm so confused why it looks like a parking space, because to me it looks like a sidewalk.
Yeah, and
There's a sidewalk,
yeah,
there's a sidewalk in front of it, there's a sidewalk behind it, like parking doesn't park like right on the edge of a street where, people who are pedestrians couldn't get around it. I think a lot of people do it again because they want to run into the Starbucks and they don't want to take the time to park across the street or park, at the
yeah,
CVS.
and if that was not the case in my situation, because I usually, I will, if there's, there are no parking there, I do park across the street where the mailboxes are, and I'm always so conscious of being sure that I am not in violation of any parking offenses, but, and again, I should have used more common sense, to your point, I probably should have used more common sense, but it's because of the way that that parking lot is configured, that sidewalk seems to be an extension of the parking lot, and so
But
that's
it's
why I
not,
thought.
it's not pavement, it's sidewalk, right? So like if people were walking on the sidewalk in front of Life Aquatic, where would they go to get to the intersection?
But
But
you
Marley, since we're gonna get into it here, I disagree. I agree with the plaintiff here. I mean, she is in violation, in my opinion, pretty obviously on a sidewalk. But if you're in a car and you're not thinking through the eyes of a pedestrian, it looks like all one thing. And that's been a problem since day one. And the city doesn't do anything to sort of demarcate there's a margin there, that this is a pedestrian thing. It looks like it's all, there's no curbs, there's no lines. It's just like, it looks like the whole thing either is pedestrian from sidewalk through to the parking area to the other sidewalk, or it's all driveway. So I could see how one could be confused. People are always parking there. I don't think they ever get tagged to the extent. So I think, the plaintiff is in violation, no question, but the town has some responsibility to like put up a sign at least and paint the damn pavement. We've said this many times.
It seems there's like an older section of sidewalk too. Like there's clearly no curb. Like I drive by it all the time. Like, and there are people who
Also
are just like stopped there. It's kind of usually it's like a loading zone or unloading zone. People quickly dropping off kids, picking up kids. I think if there was like a curb there, it would be harder to justify
Right.
rolling onto it.
Although there
The
would
reason
be,
there is
that-
not a curb, though, it's also used as a driveway for people to get in and out of that.
there's the alleyway. Well, you would need a curb cut for the alleyway, and that way then you would be able to, very clearly demarcate that it is in fact a sidewalk with a curb that has a curb cut that allows people into the alley or the parking behind those buildings.
I think the issue is that we're just inviting more of this if there's no change. And I think that's a good point that the plaintiff makes here, that, okay, messed up on this one, but if we're not willing to advocate for a change in signage or some sort of pavement demarcation, we're just asking for more. It is kind of sad the way it's set up, in my opinion. Anyway.
I can make a recommendation if you like and speak with the Public Works Director and see what the options are there. And then get back to you in regards to that. If they can do something, if they can do a marking, if they can do curbing, we can start there. And then go
Do
from there.
others feel the same way or not?
Yeah, I definitely feel as though there's a lack of signage, and the lack of the curb does in fact make it appear, or one would lead one to believe that it is an extension of either the parking lot or of the, but even if, even if it was an extension, you know, let's say a lane on the side of the road, you wouldn't necessarily park there either. So we, you know, what we do is we're happy to hear your, you know, your side of the story. And then at the end of the meeting, we will make our final decisions. And Stacy will notify you.
So you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting, or I will definitely send you an email on their decision.
Okay, right.
So, because we go on to the other things
Okay,
after
yep.
this,
that's
so we
fine.
don't want to hold you.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming.
Okay, thank you. And thank you so much for listening.
you.
And I really appreciate the consideration of at least, you know, making some sort of changes to demarcate the fact that it is not a legitimate parking spot, because I genuinely did not realize, and I would never have parked there had I known that it was an illegal spot. So my fault, and I apologize for that, but I appreciate you guys understanding and considering doing something to help correct that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for your time and coming in.
All right. Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.
Bye. I think we have Claudio. Is that you? You're on mute.
Hello?
Hi, Claudio.
Hi.
How are you?
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Good. If you'd like to share with the commission your appeal,
Uh,
feel free
uh,
to.
yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, that day I was dropping off some boxes at the Personal Touch. I'm originally from Danbury, Connecticut, and I was asked from my boss to drop off some heavy boxes. And I've never been in New Canaan. I mean, it was my first driving down there. And I drove around and there was no parking spot. And since the Personal Touch is right on the corner, I left my vehicle parked with my emergency lights on, and I even left my trunk open so that way, you know, I was just gonna take off the boxes, the two heavy boxes. It was a special order for some customers in New Canaan because we do some engraving products. And so it took me like 2 minutes, you know, until I take the box out and bring it to the entrance of the building. And when I came out, there was the ticket, and I know, you know, I made a violation, but I think I was like I said, I put my emergency lights on, and even my trunk was open, so that way they probably will see that I was just going in and out. And like I said, it was about only 2 minutes. You know, it took me to get the whole, to finish with the whole process.
Do any of the commission members have any questions?
Who took this photo here? This is the Acura, right? The BK
Yes.
716.
The officer.
Did they shut your trunk for you?
No, they didn't shut the trunk. I left the trunk open, and then I drove off the boxes, and then I found the ticket on my windshield.
Okay, because I don't see the trunk open or any flashers. Not, I mean, it could have been that instant when they were off. So you closed the trunk when you got back in the car?
Yes.
Stacy, I just texted, yeah. We don't have any copies of the violations here, so.
I apologize. I realized that was not, so that is a hydrant. It's 70, it is, give me 1 second. I realized I did $75. Obstructing a hydrant, violation 72. This one was a little oversight on me. I got you but I didn't get the,
That's okay. And is it Mr. Dole? Is that a D like like Danbury, Dola, Mr. Dola? Your last name, Claudio?
Pila,
Oh,
P-I-L-A.
Pila. I'm sorry, I'm misreading the writing. And you
And
work,
this is on Main Street, Nancy, again, apologize,
Yeah.
Main Street, right by the personal touch.
yeah, no, I see
Yeah.
it, I see it.
Yeah, Chase Bank.
And you work for the subcontractor that does the engraving for the items that you were dropping off to Personal
Ex-
Touch, is that correct? And is this, you work there permanently or do you work there just occasionally or?
I'm a permanently. I work. I've been with them for a year and a half.
Oh, okay. What's the name of the company?
Engraving products.
Right.
It's right on Kenosha Avenue, Danbury, Connecticut.
What's the closest loading zone to that?
There's no
area?
load.
There's no loading zone. The closest would be South Avenue.
Okay. Drew?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I guess this is a question for Stacy. It appears that the sign is like buried inside the tree. Is that an optical illusion or am I seeing that correct?
Well,
Lee.
yes, but that is not a sign for, if I can blow this up a little bit.
Yeah, I am. It looks like it's actually in front of, but it's not, but in this case, the
But in
lines
this
are
case,
clearly
it's the
painted.
fire hydrant, that's the issue. So that you don't have a sign that says fire hydrant, but that does say no parking. And it does say, I can't read it that clearly from over here, but that sign does say, I believe, no parking.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and I agree he's in violation here because of
And
those.
yes, is it a little in
reasons.
the tree? Yes.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like, why is the sign in the middle of the tree? And this time it's winter, but next time it'll be summer and there could be foliage. It just shouldn't be as part of the tree. So make a note of that. And then as you
Sure.
rightly point out is that there's no loading zone. We've got all this parking for residents, but nothing for the businesses. So
Well-
look month after month, you know, a good portion of our violators are people just trying to make a delivery.
But the reason we took away, we did have loading zones. The reason we took away the loading zones, because a lot of the businesses wanted now after COVID 15-minute zones, so. People could pick up food or just run in for their packages that were already waiting for them. So we did away with the number of loading zones because more of the businesses requested that. They
Okay,
needed
there must have
areas
been
people could just park
more-
really quickly and jump in and jump out to pick up their already waiting packages that were going to be handed to them.
Okay, well, I'm not aware of any 15-minute loading zones other than a couple instances.
No, they're not 15-minute loading zones, they're 15-minute zones. They were previously loading zones. that were
Okay, got
You
it.
need that
So they're
change.
regular parking spaces now for
Yeah,
15
regular
minutes.
parking spaces, but only for 15 minutes.
But
Do
there
we have
is
a map of
none-
those?
Yes, I can
There-
get you one, sure.
Yeah, there's nothing that you say is.
On our
you know,
website as well. I'm sorry.
There's not one that's along that strip of Main Street there.
Yes, right in front of
There's one by
Greenology. as well.
Greenology, I think.
Yes,
So that's a block away, right? Because that's.
not from
that's-
Personal Touch. Personal Touch is towards the end of the street towards East Avenue. And then
Oh, right,
across
right,
the
right,
street
right,
would be
right.
that
Okay,
15
I was
minutes.
thinking it was behind him, not in front of him.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
so
no,
Personal
it's
Touch is actually, you were still quite a distance away
Personal Touch, correct. They
from
were
that,
more-
from
it was
that
more
shop.
Mhm.
But he is, I mean, God forbid there'd be, needed access to the fire hydrant. It's not like he's right in front of it either.
We
Looks
had
to
this
me that-
issue, a little while ago, I think on Pine Street with somebody who parked, I don't know, somewhere. And didn't we talk about making like a flyer or something for people who are dropping off and that to tell them like, you can put your lights on and you can double park, right? And you can do your thing. Am I remembering this correctly or?
Well,
Like,
we
wasn't
did
there
for those,
Remembering, that was,
education
that was, I believe, way back, but I do also recall something about maybe handing flyers out to delivery people. On
or
what
like
they.
the businesses to let their delivery people know, because like, really, what are you supposed to do if you're carrying like a ton of heavy things?
Well, we do allow, if somebody needs to just park real quickly, we do allow them to pull in front of the store. You know, leave their, you know, trunk open, run right in, drop something off. The problem is that, you know, it's a fine line. You know, it's difficult, but you know, fire hydrants are fire hydrants, you know, though, that can't be blocked or near. But again, we try our best. I know the office is out there. If somebody has to drop something off and they go by and they're just saying we're running in, we'll give them that, you know, 5 minutes to run right in and out. The problem is a lot of people use that as a 20-minute. I'm gonna unload, leave my car here for 20 minutes. They don't come back in and out. It's not an in and out thing. So
and at what point does the officer take the photo, typically before the ticket is issued or immediately following, or?
usually immediately following it, that they fill in all the information and then they have an option to take a picture and attach it to the violation, and then they print it once the picture is attached.
Right, because I'm just puzzled why the trunk is closed. If he was just in fact running.
Well, that would be, yep, miss.
It does look like the flashers are on the bottom section of
Oh, I
the
see, yeah.
Acura lights are definitely on.
Mhm.
But again, we do have people that run in to get a coffee or a slice of pizza and they park, you know,
Right.
with their flashes on. Again, you know, if we don't see movement, we don't know what somebody's doing. You know, we can't assume that it's just somebody delivering something. And again, it's a fire hydrant, so fire hydrants are not recommended to park by, in front of. They need to remain clear.
So in Mr. Pila's situation, we recommend him putting his flashers on, keeping the trunk open in front of the personal touch, and then leaving 2 minutes later.
Yes,
Just
like,
dropping it off, it would be, that would probably be the recommended procedure.
Okay.
Yes, but again, not doing it and staying in the place for like 20 minutes, which we see people do all the time. It's a quick in and out. You know,
Uh,
so the
in-
officer can see him doing it. You know, I'm just dropping it off. It's heavy. We're going in and coming right out. If
can I
it's,
say something?
yes,
Well, like I said, there were wooded material that I need to drop off, and they were like 25 pounds each one. There were two of them. If also, I wouldn't be like taking a break or having any pizza or breakfast or anything because I'm working at that time, and my only reason
oh, I'm not saying you.
was dropping off the two orders that they asked for, and that's what I did. It took me less than 2.5 minutes probably, and I just want to be clear on that because I'm a responsible person, and I'm sure was doing just my job.
How long does it take for a police officer to like write a ticket? Like 30 seconds?
Oh, it could take a little bit longer than that, depending, getting the picture, putting it, you gotta remember, they're writing it, they're filling in the information, they're taking the picture, they're taking it off and they're putting it on the car. This officer had enough time to do that, so say a minute. You know, it could be up
Okay.
to a minute. And then get back in the car and leave. Too, we don't know, you know, Mr. Pila came back to the car and obviously didn't see the officer around there, so. You know, that as well, the officer was able to. if there is no other questions for Mr. Peeler, the same thing. They make a decision at the end of the meeting. You're more than welcome to stay on. If not, I will definitely email you and let you know what the decision of the commission was. Unless you have anything further to say.
Just one more thing. When I got out and I got into my vehicle and I got the ticket, there was a person, I guess from the other, from the other store. I didn't ask his name, but he said the guy who gave you the ticket, he just left like 15 seconds or 20 seconds ago. So I figure actually he was doing the ticket and left, and I was coming out, and probably we were probably around to meet at that same time. But the person who issued the ticket, I mean, he left like maybe 20 seconds when I got into the call. Is it like they were watching there, my vehicle was there or something, and just trying to make it as fast as they can? Even though like I said, I have my emergency lights on.
Noted.
Okay, well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. And again, more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. And if not, I will let you know the decision of the commission.
Thank you so much, and have a good
Thank you.
night.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And the last person that we have here is Ashley Gonzalez. She got a ticket for handicap parking in the Starbucks parking lot. And that fine is $150, and she would just like to share what happened that day.
I was driving down Elm Street, and my mom had an incident where she fainted in my car. I took a left turn and went into Starbucks, and she was like not fully fainted, but she suffers from low blood pressure. So she was not feeling well. So I ran into Starbucks and got her a water. When I came back, I still saw the police officer there, and he left, and my mom was in the car, and he took the picture. And I know that there's no excuse for me parking in a handicap. There's no excuse. I mean, no one should violate that for parking in a handicap. So I do take full responsibility for that. But it's just a little bit too expensive for me for $150.
I have a question, Nancy.
Yes, Drew.
Stacy, is there any, I mean, looking at the photo, which is a little bit obscured by the hood of the officer's car, is there any indication that that's a handicap spot? Where would that be?
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I
if
don't
you
see
if you see the white pillar in front of the vehicle, she's not that close to it. There is a sign. They're actually facing the sign. So see if I can describe it a little bit better. So if you see directly in front of the car, kind of towards the edge of the picture, there's a white pillar. On that white pillar, it says handicap parking. So they are facing the sign that says handicap parking.
So wait, it's weird without seeing the whole, like a wider view, because based on what we saw with the other ticket, that post looks like it's in the sidewalk, because it's like 5 feet beyond the crosswalk sign, and
Right.
it's
But
crazy.
it's in the parking lot. It's just the direction or the angle where the officer was coming into the lot and taking the picture. If the officer was coming in from behind, from off of Elm Street, the picture would be taking at a different angle, and you would see the
Okay,
front.
but again, that's the only indication that that's a handicap spot, is the sign, which is like a good 4 feet in front of the vehicle, and nothing
Right,
painted
because she's not
on the
fully in the
parking lot.
spot. Correct, right.
Right,
She's not
right,
fully
okay.
in the spot. Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, yes.
So she was sort of halfway in a handicap spot and halfway out?
Yes, she's more towards where the entranceway is off of Elm Street into the parking lot. You have to pull in a little bit further.
I see.
into
To
that
me then.
spot. Yeah.
One other follow-up, are there certain requirements for businesses to have a handicap spot? I mean, is a sign enough, or does it have to be both paint and
No,
a sign?
it doesn't have to be both. It's signage, or it could be the decal on, but usually the rule of thumb is the way it was explained to us, that usually signs rule. So usually signs are what most people utilize.
Okay, again, is that a town rule or a state
state.
rule?
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
state, because the only way we can go into a parking lot, the only violation that we can issue a ticket for in a private lot will be a handicap spot, because that follows state statutes.
Is the town of
We
New Canaan
could not go
responsible
in
for
for any
putting the
other
signs up?
reason. I'm sorry?
Is like the town of New Canaan responsible for that parking lot, like this,
No.
putting the signs up, painting,
No.
and but we're responsible for ticketing it?
Yes, because handicap spaces follow state statutes, so that is the only violation that we are allowed to ticket for in a private parking lot.
Got it.
Can we override the state statute and i.e. make it stronger than what the state requires? Is there any prohibition to that, do you know? Where it's better signage or painting?
Not in
like
a
both?
private lot, not in a private lot. I mean, we could do whatever we want in town, we could put, and which we do, we put up signs as well as markings on the ground for the town.
Yeah,
But in a
and
private
every private lot I've seen with a handicap spot is both in town, by the way, so.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah, again, I can't speak for it, I know that signage has to be up there. So I think as long
We
as
can
they-
discuss it later, but I think this, bleeds into our earlier discussion of
Sure.
Starbucks needs to do more, and we can ask them nicely, and if not, come up with ways to make them do it, because it's BS.
I have a question related to that specific handicap spot. I am only just sent a picture looking at from across the street. So there's, basically 2 car lengths along the brick sidewalk there. So is that whole, in Starbucks' opinion, that whole lane a handicap spot, or ultimately 2 handicap spots that
No,
somebody
it's usually just one. I don't think they can fit 2 cars in there. I have never personally seen 2 cars there. I don't think anyone has ever seen 2
Right.
cars in that.
But
I
the
think
sidewalk,
the
because
sidewalk
there's,
is a little longer, but again, the sign goes right to the edge of the sidewalk, and then there's a sidewalk on the other side of the sign.
right, so my question was, obviously, it looks like as though nobody was in back of her, right? She didn't parallel park into that handicap spot, so she pulled up into that handicap spot. So had she not pulled up that far, would she have been liable for a handicap ticket?
Good question. She might have been.
So Nancy, what you're saying is if she had pulled up to the cone,
If she was
Right,
blocking.
if she had just
entranceway,
parked
we
in front of the
could- yeah.
cone,
Or she
you
just
know?
blocked the entranceway, she would just be blocking the entranceway, and really.
but
we
she's
couldn't
not,
do
because
anything
the
about it, right.
sidewalk is, there's still, room for 2 cars to pull
Around
in.
there. Yeah.
I mean, again, there's so many things, this is neither here nor there, but
Mhm.
the handicap spot doesn't even have an access lane for somebody to use a wheelchair. Like, it's not wide enough. There's no paint. The sign is shorter than anything else, if you even notice it at all, with all the other stuff like a transformer there and other streets. It's just, it's like,
Right. No,
it's entrapment.
You're absolutely right. There is no, I mean, if I were Starbucks, and if there's any jurisdiction that we have in advising private lot owners where to place their handicap spots, I would suggest that any of the ones where the cars are parked facing in, especially the 2 that are right next to the CD interiors, would make
Yeah, hello?
much more valuable and accessible handicapped spots.
Right. I just don't know who approved this design and how it passed muster, because Usually at a spot, you have a striped area where people can get out and get into their chair. Anyway, neither here nor there really, but for future.
I can get an answer for you too on that one.
Yeah, well, that is an interesting question overall. It related to another thing that's not on the agenda, but I did have questions as to our jurisdiction of people in private lots, you know, let's say parking somewhere and parking at the train station, another subject, but you know, what's our jurisdiction over that? So to Drew's point, I think this is something that we're going to have to, related to Ashley's appeal here, you know, talk about when we talk through all these issues.
Also, one like kind of unrelated note, but the picture that Marley sent, there's a Volvo that's parked on the sidewalk, basically in like the entrance.
You mean on the right behind the transformer
Yeah, but
there?
that's
Yeah.
not
That
on
one,
the
that
sidewalk.
one's in the last spot, I think.
That's
There
not
is-
on the sidewalk.
But some of the two of the wheels are on the sidewalk pavement. You're
Yeah.
right. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
That whole thing needs to be remeasured and redesigned. I've always disliked it. And it's not like Starbucks is a local business.
Right.
They have the resources.
So, again, I could look into to see, you know, make mention and find out if there's someone to talk to and voice your concerns. See if we can, you know, speak to somebody about that on both issues.
Ashley,
again,
was the
go ahead.
parking lot full when you pulled in, or was it just like pure panic mode because your mom
It was-
passed it?
It was panic mode, but if I know that parking lot, if I was there, I think I remember it was pretty packed. From what
Usually
it
is.
it usually
I mean,
is.
it's always packed, yeah.
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 I also wanted to point out, boy, this picture you sent, Marley, is just full of riches. Look at the yellow striping in front of the cones. So you see, like for hydrants, like there's a whole world of possibilities. Rather than have these vague no lines or, you know, slanted lines into nothing, into the curb, like we saw with the previous violator, we could have yellow that clearly says don't park here, as opposed to there's no space, which is a little less obvious. Just saying.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Ashley?
I hope your mom was okay.
She's better now, but that time it was pretty intense. And I did get to see the officer afterwards, so, and I'm not sure how he didn't see my mom in the car, maybe because my windshields are a little bit blacked out, but it was really quick. I did get to see him. It was Mike who gave me the ticket.
Yeah, was she in the back seat?
She was in the front seat.
And he did make mention that he did not see her until he approached the car and there was nothing exchanged. She must have been very low down in the seat.
When I came back, I was like, Mom, like, how did this happen so quick?
Yeah, again, Stacy, we don't have any violation documents. So if there was a note from the officer saying subsequently.
No, there was there was nothing from the officer, so that it was just I missed sending you the actual ticket pictures. So that was it, but nothing, no officer report or anything. It was just mentioned that.
Copy that.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay, well, I will
you.
definitely let you know.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming.
Of course,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And I will let you
Okay.
know.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
We'll
Thank you,
talk soon.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Okay, so just going through the agenda real quickly, I won't say quickly. The 2024 meeting dates. You guys have picked the first Wednesday, except for the July meeting, which was July 10th, and that's the second Wednesday. You all agreed, but we didn't do the official agreement for the approval. So I just want to get a motion to approve it, and then a second, and then a unanimous, if you still are all in agreement with it.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Second, okay. And all unanimous?
Aye.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, in regards, so I just, as of last week, December 28th, we are officially finished with our commuter permit renewals priority list. So, without boring you with too many numbers, I just wanted to let you know how everything went. It was a very challenging renewal year. Probably will explain a little bit more for you during my department manager report. But just to give you a little insight of what it looked like. So going into this, our priority list, and really it focuses mostly on the lumberyard, but I will give you the other numbers as well. But starting with the lumberyard and starting with the priority list, we went into this period with 304 people on the lumberyard priority wait list. only 46 reinstated their permit for that lot out of the 304. So 258 people will be taken off that priority wait list. Should they ever want a permit in the future, they will have to reapply and start on the bottom of our current wait list. Which, looking at it, makes it good news in some way once I start looking at the utilization of that lot for our waitlist people. Richmond Hill, 15-person start, 2 reinstated, 13 will be removed. And Talmadge Hill, we had 82 on the list. We had 6 reinstatements, so 76 will not be renewed. Moving on to our active permit holders. We went into the renewal period. So our 2023 active permit holders, we had 422 in the lumberyard, active permits out in the lumberyard. For 2024, the renewal period, we now have 441 active permits. That includes the 47 reinstatements. So technically, the only 394 people who were previously active permit holders renewed. So we went down from those 28 people. So we're up about 21 in the lot. But as far as our active permit holders, we had 28 people drop out. So Richmond, we started off with 13 active. We have 7, 2 of those are reinstatements. So Richmond is not really used by our commuters much. At this point, it's really mostly business is. Talmadge was really the only one that kind of stayed stable. We had 266 out in active permit holders in 2023. The renewals for 2024 was 268. That includes the 6 reinstatements. So we're just really only about 2 higher. So we kind of stayed stable with Talmadge Hill. So we still have availability in that lot for anyone that is new to town or wants a permit in Talmadge Hill. They can absolutely start there. As far as the wait list for the lumberyard goes, we currently have 271 people on that wait list. I will start having the officer keep track of that lot to look and see the utilization. We're going to start now that we're through the holiday period, now that everyone will be going back to work, I think on a regular basis for their commuting, we'll start to see what that utilization is, when our busy days are. And that'll give us an idea of how we can start moving down on that wait list, how many people we can call. And I'm hopeful that we can make some progress off of that wait list. So that's where we are with the renewals.
Nancy, do you mind if I ask a question? So Stacy, I mean, I don't mean to be a pain here, but you just read through the numbers and, you know, requiring us to jot all this stuff down. Isn't there a document, like a live document, where this just can be updated that we can all be looking at? I don't do well with numbers read out to me and trying to follow and then looking at percentages, and you know, it's just, it seems like counterproductive to not have something that we could all be looking at the same time.
I will
And that
definitely
goes-
put something together. The reason is because we really just got through it on Thursday. That was the
Right.
end, the
But
20th.
what I'm
I was
suggesting
out of
is
the
go,
office.
right, I understand. But going forward, I think rather than generate documents just for the meeting, I think we should have like a live dashboard that's updated by the time of the meeting. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel or create something new.
So
It
this
should
is
just be
something-
existing, and we could just fill it in as we go, and we could see trends and
So
changes. I
here's
mean,
what I was
yeah.
going to share with you, and I apologize for interrupting, because that was
That's
going
fine.
to be on the discussion of our number 6 agenda. You put together
Okay, fine.
a outline of issues to put together.
Okay, we could circle
and-
back to it then, if you want.
Yeah, well, just now that, if you have any any questions on the renewals, but it's something definitely to address. And I'll let you know when we talk about it, but I absolutely see your point, and yes, but right now, and again, any questions on the renewals, and I will get to sharing my thoughts on that next.
Sure.
Other than, you know, just letting you know that we're kind of stable and we're gonna start moving down on the wait list, and I think we can start moving down pretty well. I still do not think that the lot is full, and I think we can make some headway in that wait list. And I'm hoping we can. Okay,
How many spots are available in Richmond Hill and in what's it called? Everyone TH
Talmadge, so there's 80,
Talmadge Hill.
there's 86 in Richmond. And-
Unmuted. Okay, that's why.
I'm sorry?
No, I was muted. I have the document in front of me.
Oh, go
there
ahead.
Still, are there still 298, it looks like, at the lumberyard
Mhm.
spots? And
Yep.
that as of August, there were 470 annual permits. So it looks like if we were still working along that we'd have roughly 30 new permits to give out. Talmadge Hill, it says
Probably
there's,
more, yeah.
okay,
not-
yeah,
yeah.
because of the usage is down.
Yep.
Talmadge Hills, 270 spaces,
Mhm.
270 spaces, and there were at that moment 295 annual permits. And then in Richmond Hill, 64 spaces, and at that moment 13, which it looks like is still the same.
Yep. So, I'm sorry, there was 80, yes, there were 86 at one point, permits out, 64, my apologies. In Richmond Hill. So, yeah, so I think we could make some improvements on that wait list once we start watching that lot. So getting to number 6, and what we started discussing last week on your great outline, Drew, of some of the issues to be discussed. And I know we started out with you know, what the duties and responsibilities of the parking commission are, and you guys are still down a member, okay, which our selectman is currently working on. There are gonna be a number of the Board of Selectmen will be making a number of appointments to commissions over the course of January. And I know our selectman is working really hard in getting a 5th member for the Parking Commission. Once that is accomplished, you guys will vote on a chairman and on a secretary. And once you get your chairman, things will start to fall into place a little bit better, because the chairman will then be able to oversee and start keeping records and putting things together, because that is the chairman's like responsibility to do. And I know that you will work with the chairman on how you want the organization of your commission, like what you want, how you want to see things. Definitely share it with me and I can start putting everything together. But right now, I know things seem to be a little bit out of place. You don't know where to get the numbers from. I don't know how to share it or put things together for you on what everybody wants, because you really don't have that one person just yet that you would need to go to make all those recommendations to me and to the Board of Selectmen and things like that. So I think once you get your 5th person and once you get your chairman voted on and your secretary, things will fall into a little bit more of a, what's the right word I'm looking for? Way that you will do things and get that information to me and I could get the information back to you, because giving you numbers, what I used to do is give the numbers to the chairman and they would put, the old chairmans would put it together into a spreadsheet for the commission members, put it together the way they want to see it, how you want to look at it and things like that. So right now, everything is all over the place. I'm just throwing numbers at you and it's really, you know, not housed in one area. So I do
Well,
believe,
my question on that is whoever becomes chairman, it's on them to kind of keep populating this thing. Again, it just seems like.
it is, if you look at the duties and responsibilities, I
Okay.
would give that the chairman that information. Again, the chairman could say, could you populate it for me and give it back to me? Sure, I could do that, and then they could disseminate it to all of you. It would be up to you and the chairman to discuss how you want the things given to you and how you want to keep it, is my understanding. And then I could put it all together and get it back and it could be given out to you.
Well, again, state of the art, which isn't so state of the art anymore, is to have something on the cloud, which I know other boards and commissions I think have, where we're not trading around attachments and trying to find stuff in email and so forth. It's just sort of live up there and we know where to find it. So I was wondering if the town was going to provide that space, the folder somewhere, because
Well,
otherwise.
if other commissions have it, then I'm guessing that the town, if they're providing for other commissions, then I'm sure they would not have any issue with providing it for the Parking Commission, if that's where the Parking Commission wants that information housed out there. And I can absolutely look into that and you know,
I mean,
get
do
it.
other members think that would be convenient going forward, is to have sort of a home folder with all the stuff? And again, it's just sort of updated as
And then
we
I
go.
can just upload it for you guys.
Yeah.
You tell me
Right,
what you
I mean-
want, I upload it for you and you can grab it. That sounds great. Again, I'm just trying to do this with how I
Right.
usually do it. Like I said, it used to go to the chairman who would then give it out. And right now I'm kind of just giving it all out.
Right.
And
No, we appreciate it. I mean, on that note, and if others have questions, I'll stop talking, but just a few things that have been on my list of things to discuss regarding all this is, I mean, you as a staff, Stacy, I mean, you lost a couple people over the pandemic, and you're still doing the work of whatever it was, 5, now you get 3, however it shakes out. Have you had this, you apparently met with the first selectman late last year. Is that going to change? Are you going to get, no?
I have my staff and I will work as hard as I can with what I have currently. Right now, things are gonna
Okay.
stay the same. And that was another thing. I've gone through the first process of our budget. And again, really, the parking commission does not generally get involved in the budget process. It's really handled internally. So I did get through the phase one with the sit down with the selectmen, trying to keep the budget, kind of flat or under. There's a recommendation on, I think it was 2%. They wanted to see if they can bring it down to 2%. I've been able to keep the budget within the guidelines of what the town council requested. So that first process went well. And it's moving on now to the Board of Selectmen on January 23rd. And then it goes on to the Board of Finance and the town council for final approval. So you guys are more
Well-
than welcome to join the meetings, watch the meetings to see what's discussed. But overall budget, seemed to go very well.
Well, again, I don't, I'm not sure if this is spelled out and what the bylaws for this commission are, but I've just never been on a board where I don't know what our role is. Like, if we can't even see the budget or make recommendations, and it just sort of happens whether we're here or not, that's
But
like, why are we
you
here?
can't see the budget, but I don't believe that the commission gets involved in the budget itself.
Well, I'll, kind of bring this closer to home. I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Mann at one of these POCD events, who mentioned that, there's like, again, the parking fund, which I think all of us just learned about recently.
Yep.
with close to $1 million in it. What's it used for? What's earmarked for it? He said he's got, 300,000 from the town, the former first selectman, to approve to go and like put up parking garages or repave certain lots, but he's been holding off until we kind of go through this planning document process. But that's alarming, of like, there's just money sitting there that we have no say over, and suddenly things can get repaved or put up a
Well, no,
parking deck.
you can absolutely make recommendations on the parking fund. You can make your recommendations, and that's why it's important to understand that, again, you make the recommendations as a commission to the chairman when you get one, and the chairman would make the recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, and then the Board of Selectmen has the final say on it. So you are absolutely allowed to make the recommendations on how, for improvements in the lot, for the use of the parking fund. Tiger has agreed to come and sit down and explain what some of that is already allocated for parking lots in the town. But you are absolutely allowed to make the recommendations on what you feel where improvements can be.
Yeah,
Like,
but is the Board of
this has to go
Selectmen
before and-
obligated to, is the Board of Selectmen obligated to even have to consider our recommendations? I mean, we've been doing, at least since I've been on the commission, making recommendations every December or so, and I never heard back if anyone ever discussed them. I guess I could attend those meetings and see, but it's a little strange. I don't know if others feel the same way, but it seems like we have very little information, but yet we still have the ability to make recommendations, but things that we aren't really privy to or have to kind of scratch to get access to. I don't know. I'm just confused by this whole relationship, to be honest. I don't know how others.
All I can tell you is how it was explained to me. Not to say that, again, I know you can make recommendations. The recommendations are brought to the Board of Selectmen, and again, they will make that final determination on how it's used. So
So then it would be incumbent upon the commissioner, or rather the chairman of the commission, to report back to us on the status of whatever our proposed recommendations would be.
I would believe so, yes,
And it
yes.
would
That's
make
why you have
sense.
that one person to, you bring all your ideas, you bring all your thoughts, you bring all your discussions, and the chairman will take that further. They will.
And those
provide
are
that
meant
those
to happen,
recommendations.
are those meant to happen exclusively in this forum? Or are there mechanisms where we are, enabled to communicate outside of this forum?
I believe it's usually within the forum, usually during your commission. I can look out up to that a little further, but I
Right.
believe.
It would be helpful. I mean,
Write it
because
down,
I have my
write it
folder
commission.
here that I got the day, Claudia swore me in or what have you. And I don't see anything that provides an overview of the role of the parking commission or that of its members. So if that,
Didn't I send you the town ordinance charter?
did you send it via email after this whole thing came out? After
No,
we-
last meeting, I thought I sent you the charter.
You may have, Stacy, so
The of
would
the
have to
whole- and
go
the
back
beauty.
and look. But yeah, so just to start from the very beginning and understand exactly what the structure and the parameters are within, let's see, meeting dates. No, our last meeting was November 1.
Right. It was,
And I just, the last email I have from you is November 7th. And that is just the meeting dates. So I don't have anything in my email files with any copy of the charter.
yeah, I will resend it to you. I thought I saw.
I don't know,
normally
did you guys get it,
approve.
Kevin or Drew?
I
Doesn't-
just looked it up. I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it either. It
But-
just seems that
We're all on
we're
a
essentially
email,
Oh, I just
advisory.
sent it.
Well, I think it is, I think it's just important that we get that fifth member and hopefully as.
It is
the-
very
that nom-
important.
That
Yes.
nominating process, to that, this commission, is, moves forward, that, we keep in mind, unless either one of you or Marley has any interest in actually becoming that commissioner or the chairman rather of the commission. We need to really be mindful of whoever that next member is so that we can know that whatever our thoughts and concerns are properly presented and advocated.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm just reading section C 13-6 annual appropriations. I'm not sure. I read it once and I'm a little confused on it, but it's like we can basically just make recommendations for off-street parking, basically.
Sorry to interrupt, Kevin, but
Off-street
Marley,
parking, correct. The parking commission actually oversees off-street parking, which is our parking lots.
Okay,
The on-street parking is governed by the police commission.
can you let
We can
Marley
make
in, please,
recommendations.
Stacy?
I'm sorry?
Can you let Marley in? She had to duck
Oh.
out.
Sure. Why do I keep missing? Oh, God, one of those days.
so sorry, Kevin and Stacy, can you rewind and say those things again?
Sure, we'll wait till Marley comes in.
Right.
Marley, can you hear us?
Hey, I'm back in. Sorry, I put you on mute. I have to go pick up my daughter. I'm so sorry, but I'm listening.
Kevin, you want to start with
Yeah.
what you?
So I'm just reading the parking commission like powers and duties, and like the next section is annual appropriations. And it basically says that like we can give recommendations to the board of selectmen for off-street parking facilities in the next parking year, and that can include professional assistance to the commission as it may be approved by the board of selectmen, and then we can like submit an estimate to them, and then the Board of Finance can approve it.
So basically you would make recommendations, you oversee the off-street parking. So you make recommendations like Kevin said, to the Board of Finance, you know, if something needs to be covered, expenses, things like that, you can make your recommendations. On-street parking is overseen by the police department. However, you can make recommendations to the police department if you see changes or something that you might want to recommend should be changing, i.e. adding maybe more loading zones, or something like that. Or like you said, curbing or things like that, you can make those recommendations. So that doesn't stop you from doing that. But again, like something like that, like let's say adding the loading zones, I would have to take that to the police commission as a recommendation from the parking commission. They will have the final decision on that. And then again, with other things, Board of Selectmen has the final decision. I guess when it comes to finances, Board of Finance, things like that. But again, you're a recommending body on certain things.
Okay, so I see in part 6 there, you know, you've got to make your recommendations by the 15th of November. So that came and went.
Again, you,
Nobody's,
again, once you get your 5th, we can try putting it in again,
so do we have I mean, can we see what the budget is proposed that's going to be voted on, or do we have to attend those meetings in order to see it?
Yeah, I don't think it could be given out until it's finalized at this point. So you can
Right,
intend to see what they discussed.
So yeah, if we attend, we only get we hear the discussion, we don't get to see what they're looking at. Okay.
Not at this time.
So do the budgets include obviously the revenue, prospective revenue from
Projected revenue.
from the from the lots from the Metro North?
It includes the revenue. So our highest revenue generating portion of our department is our permits. That's where we get the majority.
Right.
From.
And then are those in a line item format in terms of from Metro North and then from the parking violations? And how are those parking violations, if there's are they based on historical numbers? And then do you budget an increase for them, or is
Well,
there
it
sort of a
depends.
quota, or what's the deal?
So I'm not sure. Well, I understand when you say Metro North. So usually tickets, the train station is a different fund. It's the railroad.
Two separate things. There's a line item of revenue for permits.
Correct.
And then imagine a line item of revenue for violations, right?
For violations, and there's a line item for machines, like pay machines, as well. So for 1-day permits, we have several revenue line items. So and the way it's based is I look at what we did last year, I look at where we stand 6 months in, 5 months in, see how we're progressing. It's usually, you know, consistent. If we're at a certain point, you know, I look at where we are, and then I break it down and I add. It's an estimate. Everything's an estimate, because sometimes, you know, it's higher, sometimes it's a little lower. We're seeing more utilization in lots. So where we're getting our money from for the utilization of the lots increases. We are now going to go down a little bit on the wait list, so we're going to be getting more permits. So I would budget it that way. Okay, how many people do I see giving more permits to? Well, what would that show? You know, what would that generate if I put this many people in, if I can get that many people in? So it's based on last year's final revenue, where we stand now, and what I am predicting and hoping for in the future, as far as the revenue goes, and that's how it's always worked. You know, and we have seen since COVID, we have seen an uptick in everything. So, you know, it has been going up as far as revenue goes. And then the rest of the budget is all of our expense accounts that I need to run a department. Salaries and supplies and maintenance for the machines, maintenance for the vehicles, things like that. There's a whole list of line items there as well. Postage.
So once that's approved
Mhm.
in January, after the January 23rd, and then those two subsequent meetings.
Yeah,
then
that's it. You probably finally, I think it
we'll
goes
have
all the way out
access
to
to that.
March.
And that will become a framework from which we can, as a commission, understand. Or, you know, we could also look at what last year's budget was, right?
Yep,
I mean,
previous,
so
yep. Hasn't changed much,
where
you know, as far as the
Would we
expense goes.
find
That's
access to that?
on our website. On the website, on the New Canaan website. Why do I keep doing that?
Speaking of the website, I see it's been redesigned,
Yeah.
but there's information that used to be there that's not there now, like the parking map, the rates, all that stuff, unless I'm missing something.
We're updating, they're gonna get, they're supposed to be updating the parking map, so they might have taken the old one off. I thought I still saw the parking map up on our website. The last time I looked.
It's kind of weird because I think that there's two if there's in the government there's the parking under commissions, and then under department there's the parking bureau.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe that's.
Yeah,
what
if
it
you go
is.
to parking bureau, that's where our map is.
because they still
But it
have
needs to be
Jennifer
updated.
listed as the chairman.
Yeah, that the parking commission
Where is,
uh,
okay, I don't,
looks a little outdated, but the Talmadge Hill proposal and the letter to town council seems like two things that like we could do at any time. Like we could put a letter to the board of selectmen saying like, hey, this is what we think should happen.
Right, that and restriping the Playhouse lot in Morse Court.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Talmadge Hill thing is from 2005. I don't know why that's there.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling to find the parking bureau
you
though.
go.
It's
So
under
it's
department.
It's under departments.
under departments, parking bureau.
And
That's
there's
the
parking
website, that's the
commission.
page, that's what I update. But if you're looking for the budgets, if you go under departments, under finance. And then you click, you'll see budget documents. It'll give you all the budgets.
I'm struggling, but that's just me. It's weird.
Okay, I see.
Shows
Going
you,
over departments. I
And that's the
see.
parking bureau.
Oh, okay. It's a heading of its own. I was looking for
Yes.
design.
yeah, under departments, under, you see where it says land use, right under land use,
Yeah.
parking bureau.
Okay, it's the only heading with nothing under it. Okay, got it.
We stand alone.
Ideally, this would be merged somehow, but anyway, okay.
We need some updates, but this was put together for us, so we have to go back. And just update,
And
some of our 15-minute zones, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
That would be
And
really
Stacy-
helpful.
And then, but I've updated mostly everything in the blue side with all our updated information.
okay, yeah, I guess that answers my question. You like update it yourself, or do you have to like ask someone else to update it and then they'll
I could do that. Yep. Yeah. So we just recently, because they've changed the website over, we just, every department recently went through it and just made all their updates.
Oh yeah, and the commuter wait list. There used to be documents in there, and
There used
I
to
guess
be.
because they need to be updated, I guess.
Well, the reason you don't
Because of
see
COVID.
it now is because I had been actively, before I stopped, before we started the renewal process, I had been actively calling into the wait list, so it was changing pretty frequently. So it was like, okay, post it and then take it off, and then, so I stopped posting it because I was moving down. We're gonna start again, calling into that list, but eventually when we slow down, it will get posted again on there where people stand for, again, basically it applies to the lumberyard. That's not, no wait list for Talmadge and Richmond. We're bypassing a lot of people for Richmond because we're approaching them on the lumberyard wait list. So, which is a good thing as well.
All right, well, this gives us a starting point to at least, understand the framework, what we're, what, and how the department
Yep.
Is run. So that's helpful. But I would say in the interest of time that we should go back to
Yeah.
some of these outstanding appeals.
Yep.
Sure. Do you wanna just hear one other thing from me, or we
Oh,
could?
yes.
my
No,
management
let's
would-
finish your report.
Just real
So-
quickly, I'm not gonna, real quickly, I was not very happy with, the renewal process, like this.
Oh, yes, you mentioned that.
The company, it was very challenging, very disappointed in the company that we're currently using. So I will tell you, that, I am going to look for, other companies. I have one particular one in mind. I like what they offer. I like, their customer service. However, because of the cost, I now have to go out for an RFP. So, which is a little bit new to me. So I will be getting guidance from people who have done it many times. So I will be putting out an RFP moving forward. I'll get it together. I know Drew gave me a name of a company as well. So, but the overall picture is I will be looking for a new software program.
Is-
This program
is-
overall was just a disappointment.
Is there any way to get, is there any like parking thing that will get like everything together so you can like count the vehicles who are like parked in the lots, like do
I am
the
going,
renewals?
I'm going to, put together some of the ideas of what I want. Please feel free to throw out any ideas that you might have, that you might feel would be beneficial for your understanding of things. And once I narrow it down to what companies I might be interested in, again, a little new to the RFP, so I have to see how that goes. Getting guidance on how we do the RFP and what needs to be put into it and things like that. But absolutely, I want a software company that works for this town and for us, not for everybody else. It really did not work well for us in many ways, so that's just a little update on moving forward. I'm going to start looking in that direction. Now, going back to the parking violation appeals. Whatever you guys,
Yeah, there's a couple of tough ones, I think. Does anybody, you want to start with, start at the top with the first person who came and go from there, or the other way around? Any suggestions?
Yeah, let's start there. Yeah.
Okay,
But I think we just lost Drew.
yeah, I think we just,
Oh,
Okay,
Oh, he's in the waiting room.
waiting room now, again, okay.
Okay, hold
Here
on.
we
a
go.
second. Let me, we gotta pop this up here. Oh, right, wait. I have too many windows open.
Okay, there we go. He's a telephone.
Okay,
Do you hear us, Drew?
Hmm.
I
oh,
hope,
so,
Drew?
okay,
I think he's muted still.
so the first was, Starbucks. Miriam,
I'm here. I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
okay, cool.
Drew, we've just started to go through the appeals, the three that were present. And we decided to
Sure.
go in order of their appearance. Which
Perfect.
was, the first one was the Miriam O. Who was the woman who parked on the sidewalk by Starbucks. So I think, does anybody want to start or?
I'm at that Starbucks. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Kate.
No. Sorry.
I would vote to negate. Sorry, I vote to negate. What's the wording? I reject the appeal. She was parked in the sidewalk, but I would strongly recommend we push for changes at that parking lot, please. Yes.
So you're going to uphold the appeal, I think is the way it's.
Uphold the
I'm
ticket.
sorry, uphold the violation. Yeah, Yeah.
Yes, correct.
deny the appeal. Right, upholding the violation. Which I'm
Uphold,
inclined to do.
Yeah, I'm at that Starbucks all the time. I'm like, I've pulled the like, hey, I'm a parking commissioner. Can you please not park there? And no one said, I didn't know I couldn't park there. They're all like, sorry, I'm just like running in. I'm like, it's a sidewalk. I don't know. To me, like, especially from that other view, it looks like a sidewalk. Like it barks
No,
like
it
a
is a
sidewalk. It
sidewalk.
tastes like a sidewalk. It's a sidewalk. Can we put more signs there? Sure, that's fine. But I just, I don't know. Yes, let's
I
uphold.
think they
Let's
need
ask Starbucks for more stuff. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I think they need to put a curb there and a curb cut in the alley, and that'll be pretty obvious. I don't know what's more expensive or less expensive, signage or those, asphalt curbs that come out like, cake decorated. They squirt them out of a
They
tube.
can do it all. I mean, Walgreens has a legit parking lot. Starbucks can afford it. It's a weird location. They should make it less weird.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's a case to be made in terms of having a discussion with them relating to that, although I don't think, the curb would be the town of New Canaan's responsibility. The
Yes,
signage, I think as it relates to the sidewalk would also be the town of New Canaan's responsibility. But since we've had two appeals related to this piece of real estate, I do think we should go, have some suggestions to them about relocating that handicap sign. Because it doesn't make any sense for anybody who's, legitimately handicapped.
Yeah,
The
I,
other-
I I agree. She's badly parked on the sidewalk, but I think even more, maybe we recommend to Starbucks that maybe we get rid of that as like an exit. Like totally, we just have New Canaan curb the entire side up until the alley.
Right. They would have to. I think you're right.
That's
So
really not a bad idea. The people who try and take a left out of there all the time is a disaster.
It's
Right.
awful.
It's like, it's so bad.
Great.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. Totally.
Or like right turn only. I mean, if they want to keep it, I don't even know. It's more signs. I know how we all feel about signs, but
oh, did you ever see them pulling out on Elm Street and going down the wrong way? Because they found a parking spot, so they'll go down the wrong way and back in.
Yeah.
Out of that lot, that's the fun one.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had a ticket for one
sacrificing
of those
pedestrian
ones.
and street- We're sacrificing pedestrian and street safety in order for them to say they have parking, and it's really, so if it becomes less useful as a parking lot, so be it. I'd rather have that than people parked on the sidewalk or getting tickets for stupid things that, because nobody really knows what's going on there. So I agree. Just cut that whole side off on Park Street.
Okay, so
So we're going to
Right,
uphold the
uphold.
ticket. And then
Uphold.
you
Yeah.
might want to say, yeah. All in
Hold.
favor? Okay. So Miriam O upheld. But you may want to say, I mean, I guess you do notify them via email or what have you, Stacy? And, tell her that her points were duly noted.
yep,
And so, Stacy, would you like recommend? Do we have to like recommend to Tiger Man like, hey, like maybe
Well-
we should this, or like do you text or do you like talk to Starbucks and like send them a letter saying like, hey, can you like repaint your parking lot?
so my first, what I would do first is I would go speak to Tiger only because I believe he would know probably who it would be best to contact. He might know. I mean, he would be my first person that I would go to and say, Tiger, this is what was discussed at the parking commission meeting. This is what they were thinking. We'd like to share it with Starbucks. Is there a contact person that you know? Is there somebody that I can contact? Can we even do that? That would be, he would be my first start. So,
Okay.
and then go from there and see what we can do.
I think with 2 appeals in that parking lot alone for this 1 month, like there might have a long list of things.
Yep.
All right,
Okay, Claudia,
So
right?
then-
Let's do.
moving on. Our second appellant was Claudia Pila. Anybody
Let's
want to?
jump in first because I can't see you. I vote he was parked in a hydrant spot. Again, with all these things, I agree that he's in violation, but again, the town has to do more for striping, marking, signage. And then again, I don't know where these 15-minute spots are, but I don't think they're on that street. As far as I can tell, people are parking there for a couple hours. So unless it's changed, I'm not aware of it. But we're basically punishing the people, not intentionally, but the people who can least afford it, who are not customers, they're workers, they're the ones who are getting punished.
Right. And just to remind me, Stacy, we don't have the latitude to reduce a ticket, only to void it.
Yep.
Is it worth like reaching out to Laura Budd again to help communicate to the businesses that, tell your drivers like, double park, put your lights on, like put a sign in the window, like whatever it is.
Sure.
I don't know. I feel so bad for these
Yeah,
guys.
I feel
know.
bad for
Mhm.
him. But he did say it was his first time coming to New Canaan, even though he'd been working with this vendor or their vendor for a year and a half. So, he's not a regular, I don't know. I don't know the nature of their, their business relationship, but it was his first time coming to New Canaan. If we take that at its word, and the fact that he was doing his job, on those two points, I would be inclined to void it. I'm still puzzled as to why the picture had the trunk closed, but he may have been mistaken. I don't know.
like on the three-way intersection for that's on Main Street, and it's like a little bit further up. The left side used to have like parking. Is that we no one can park there now because it's like sight lines? Or can you just not park inside of an intersection?
It's because there's a crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Remember
such
that
an
whole like
eerie intersection.
crosswalk thing?
Yeah, of course, we lost a lot of spaces because of the 25-foot setback from the crosswalks. So there's a lot of areas now that are no parking zones. And again, the area in front of Greenology really, which is not too far from where he was going into, was originally a loading zone. Oh, actually in the morning from 7 to 11. And then it went back to a 2-hour zone, and then it was requested that that area be changed to a 15-minute area so people could just like run in and get their food or go in quickly maybe to a music store or just pick something up in that area or deliver something. So that's why it was changed to the 15-minute zone.
And I guess like with the setbacks, you can't have anything there, like not even like loading zones.
There are really no parking zones, so
Yeah.
they fall into almost the same category as a hydrant. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be stopping there for any
What
reason.
is the fine? What is the fine for that? If he were to have parked there with his flashers on and his hatch open?
35. Excuse me, 35 is a no parking zone. So, and again, I won't say I'm 100% on this, but if the commission feels that they might want to have the latitude to maybe lower a fine, because I do know that some towns do that. Again, a recommendation, not saying that, it would be accepted, but it would be a recommendation from you to the Board of Selectmen that can we have the latitude if we choose to, decrease a fine, and how, what would that latitude be? Half, what percentage, I think that could be a recommendation that you could make. Or request or ask.
I mean, I would love that personally.
Yeah.
I don't think
We're gonna
that
talk about the
something like that
next
would be
one.
off
I
the
think that's,
table.
yeah.
But right now, that's not, I don't believe an option. Because
Right.
it's not been voted on or agreed on.
Well, I mean, I feel like we need to be consistent in many respects. We've had challenging conversations related to, as Marley points out, especially this handicapped, and kind of have always drawn the line that, that is sort of the holy grail. You have to, you always have to uphold a violation of a handicapped space. That said, we've also, I think, been fairly consistent in the situation we're looking at here, where you have a delivery driver who's, doing his job, her job, and, not familiar with the town and making a quick run into a store to deliver something. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we've typically, voided the ticket, or I know have a history of voiding some of those tickets. So as it relates to this, Mr. Claudio Pila, I believe we should void the ticket.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I'll be down for that.
Okay, 4 to void,
Yes.
unanimous, okay?
Now here comes the tough one. So we have no information from the officer that this woman was in the car or was in any sort of distress.
The only thing that had been shared with me is that, when he went to place the ticket on the car, he then saw the woman, but there was no communication, like nothing was said. There was no indication of anything. But she was low down in the seat.
Right.
That's why she was not seen.
And we
I
don't
mean,
know.
I know this is like not the definition of a handicap space because it requires like a permit and a state form and whatever, but wasn't this woman in a state of handicap at the moment? If the story, I mean, if that, you know,
If the
I
story
mean,
is in a state of distress, yes, I mean,
Right.
you know,
I mean, if you look at the picture, you
Look at
can't
it.
see anyone in the car. But if the police officer wrote in his ticket that or in the response that there was someone in the car, that leads me to believe that like maybe she was in distress.
I mean, it's also a private lot, and I think, because for instance, if you recall, there was the gentleman near the mobile station that also was in distress, and we did uphold that ticket and gave him instructions on where to find a handicap, permit or what have you. In this case, I would I don't know, I think it's as much the placement of the handicap parking. And the fact that it's in a private lot versus in a on-street scenario.
I agree. I just think the markings are so bad and confusing and non-existent that. That's my look.
I mean, I don't know how can you make these distinctions, for instance, in our municipal court, lots and on Morse Court where we have, and on our street parking, those are what the town of New Canaan has deemed as being handicap spots. We all know that we need to sort of look at the signage and make sure that it's uniform and clear throughout in those spots that we have oversight of. But, on, in these public lots, because there's over on the, over by the racket club, that's a whole nother mess. But, I don't know how, if they're supposed to designate the handicap spots and then we're supposed to oversee them. It's tricky.
We read it strongly.
Yeah,
We're to
that
go to
doesn't-
Starbucks.
that doesn't make sense for a handicap spot, right? Like a handicap person would be walking across traffic essentially, right? To get to
Right.
the door.
And
of
there's
the
no
place.
egress. Yeah, there's no egress for them to take their, wheelchair out and wheel across. Yeah.
But then again, they were probably told they had to put one in and they're like, well, how many times is maybe somebody gonna, somebody gonna use it, right? Like, let's just slap it here. I don't know. I don't know how that decision was made.
Well, it should be made with the same criteria that other handicap spots are made, which is that they're usually in the primo spot, and in a spot that makes sense
Have paint.
for the user.
Have paint as well as a sign. The sign is
And
very
paint,
key.
yeah.
So I vote to void.
Okay,
Two.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I think I agree on
Send
this
the
one.
ticket- Send the ticket to Howard Schultz.
There you go.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'll avoid it. But
This
I
is-
do think that we need to like send a letter to.
Yeah, well, that'll be,
Starbucks.
I'll bring that, yeah, that'll be included in, the curbing issue.
Yeah, or even ask Tiger and say like, hey, like if we have any blue paint laying around, can we, help
Well,
Starbucks?
I don't think that's,
I'm not sure we can, but I will ask. All I could be
It should
told is
never have been
no.
approved. It should, that design should never have passed inspection. I don't know who allowed that to.
yeah, I know. Maybe what we ought to think about is that for these private lots, they need to get their handicap spots approved by the municipality.
That would, yeah, that would,
That's a really good suggestion. If a handicap spot is under some sort of like state or municipal jurisdiction that we can ticket it, right? Wouldn't it
Right.
have to fall under whatever rules that we have to use to
Right.
generate? a decision on
We ought to
it.
be able to have a say of what it looks like, right?
Okay, you guys have one more who was not able to make up.
Oh, I thought they had to be here.
Hmm?
You must appear in order for your appeal to be heard.
What?
Automatic uphold of the ticket if they don't show.
Right. The fourth guy,
Yulon,
right.
she
But-
was,
Oh, the library,
yeah,
that brings up a whole other thing that it's too late to talk about now, but that parking lot is, I never know if I'm paying or not in that lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, the
at
library,
least it looks like it's
the
gonna be
library
cleared out
space-
soon.
But
The
I thought,
library-
I'm looking at the other appeal. It says you must appear at the hearing in order for your appeal to be heard.
what,
So,
where? What? I didn't. I don't tell them you must,
Oh, on the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever considered an appeal when they weren't here, right?
oh, yeah,
no.
yes, you have.
I think we've gone a couple
No.
different ways on that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm
It's
gonna
a
let Maureen weigh in
recommendation,
on this
but,
one.
we've always used their written appeal for you guys if they don't show up to make the decision.
Oh, I thought. well,
I'm not
Right, I'm
sure.
not at my desk and didn't look at that one, so I'm just gonna uphold the ticket.
Stating, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
it's at the bottom of these appeals that are in the email.
Yeah, it's the picture of the
Like I'm
Toyota.
looking, yeah, I'm looking
spot.
at Miriam O's, right? You must appear at the hearing in order for your appeal to be heard.
Right.
Well, what am I missing?
It's on the bottom, I guess the form, if they are given an appeal form that to handwrite, in,
Oh, I see. Oh, gosh. Okay.
then that's what it says.
I think under Keith, that was always the case.
Yeah, and I could swear that one recently, I had brought up, oh, what about that person? And it was like, oh, no, they're not here.
Oh. Change that phone.
But I don't know, because this is an electronic version of the appeal via an email. So I
Right.
guess the question is, if it's not, stated in that email,
Yeah,
other-
usually when they email
when-
me, I usually let them know when I send the Zoom link that it is recommended that you appear. But if you can't, and she did let me know she wasn't able to, she was not gonna be here. I think she was out of the country.
I mean, whenever I've gotten a ticket anywhere in America, if you don't show to fight it, you're not fighting it.
well, I think we need to make sure that we're very clear on this going forward, both in terms of the print appeals and the electronic appeals. And I think it would save us all a lot of time. But if in this case, Stacy, you think
Yep.
you've given her an indication that we would hear it,
Yep.
I don't want you to have to go back on that.
Yeah, I said that you would make your decision based on the written appeal, that she did not have to appear if she couldn't. But if moving forward, I will take that off of the form. I will redo the form and I will make it known when I email that back, that if they do not show up, then
So what do? You email them a form, or you might want to even think about it, like putting something like that in your electronic signature.
well, yeah, these people came in, I have a printed form, so these two people came.
Right,
came
But those
office
that you
grabbed it.
communicate via email, you should, make.
But
sure it's-
normally I just say, email me your written appeal, and I give them my email address, and they just
Right,
email.
but do you have an electronic signature in your email? I don't even know. I get your emails all the time. I don't. No. Oh, no, you do.
Well,
It says that at the
It
bottom of
just
your.
says my name, but
Right,
it's-
but you can
yeah,
change that and just say in bold type, you must be
must have-
present.
Yep,
That
so
way
I
that,
put that on the bottom, yep,
Yeah.
that's fine, if we wanna change that, that is fine with me.
So Marley, you
But in
have
this instance,
opinion.
So maybe we can use
Yeah.
this one, just vote on this one, because I already told her. And
Yeah.
she did notify me that she wasn't able to attend. So,
Right. Right, and I think in those cases too, that's probably not the first time or the last time, rather, that something like that's gonna happen.
Yep.
So, it's like, oh, they're on their honeymoon, sorry. You- uh, But, so Marley, you were gonna say something?
I mean, I don't know if it's the construction overwhelm or the presence of trucks and what look like library spots, or I find that whole lot insanely confusing. I never am quite sure if I'm supposed to pay or if it's like some of the library spots are here, there, and that's nobody's fault or anything. I just think that whole thing,
so
hopefully we'll
because
get a
the
face.
construction is technically going on, they are still taking up some spaces, but all the designated library spaces do not have numbers on them. Do not have numbers, so you can't pay. If you
I
park
think
in a
that's-
library spot that doesn't, if you park in a spot that does not have a number on it and you are going to the library, you do not have to pay. Okay, if all of those spaces are full and you have to go into the other lot that has numbers on them, then you are required to pay. The library was only designated a certain amount of spaces. So anybody else, if all those spaces are taken, and there's anybody else that wants to go to the library and park in that lot and they park in a numbered space, they are required to pay. And the area is signed that says business and pay spots, and that library spaces have signs the way the library wanted them that say library spaces. And that's why there's no numbers on those spaces. So,
Right.
all right, but that sounds like a very insider view of things. I mean, that wouldn't have been obvious to me. Again, no sign, no foul would be my assumption.
and the
I mean-
library
Going to the
again was
library
supposed to be
and
getting
not-
that information out.
Yeah, I know like
Same
people are
there's-
parking there to like go into town. I mean,
Right,
I'm
well, that's
sorry?
my question. So are people are parking in the library spots and then using them to go elsewhere?
And again, unfortunately, it's up to the library to monitor those spaces because we don't know if they're in the library or we don't know if they're in the library or not.
That's a disaster.
You know, when we first started, we did patrol that area to make sure we had to teach the permit holders that that is not an area no longer that you can park in, and they have now learned that they need to be in the numbered spaces. So again, it's on the library to monitor and oversee their own spaces. Because we don't know.
Right, but
Library.
in this case, well, you know, I just question whether or not it's a signage issue. I don't often park over there, so I'm not familiar with the lot.
It was signed the way the library, they approved the signage that says library parking. We took the numbers off. So the library made it known that all the spaces that are designated to the library do not have numbers on them. You do not have to pay. This is what I was told that they have gotten out to
They should
their
have,
residents.
they should
They're
paint
their
those
people.
spots that say like NCL visitor, you know, or something. Just like they do in various parking lots or, you know, of office buildings.
I'm not
And-
totally sure all their spots are like next to each other. I'm trying to think. Like, I think there's a row of them in like the first row, and then there's like a row of them in the second row, but then along the side, it might be numbered.
Yeah, that's confusing too. That ought to be relooked at. I
Well,
think they
what's
should
gonna
probably-
happen is once the construction is out of, this is not the final, because there's an area of construction. Okay, and they closed off some spaces. It is not the configuration of exactly where the library spaces will finally be when they finally finish the library. It's going to be the spaces are going to be changed a little bit. So they will be more together than what they are now, but right now, this is the way it is until the next phase is over and the library is complete and the construction is out of there. And it was, again, we're just monitoring it. This was all agreed upon. So,
Yeah,
So under the circumstances, I could go either way. I'd say void because it's confusing, as Molly said, these days. And you're not in the know of like a number. I mean, if your intent is to go to the library and you're parking there, you're not necessarily like looking for a sign versus a number. So I could see how you'd be duped. The library indeed should have a sign in their front door saying, did you park on a space with a number? If so, you got to pay. Some little stand with a sign.
yeah, that's a good idea.
But that's on them. Are we gonna punish somebody who didn't know?
You know, or how do they pay now? Do the kiosks, same kiosk?
correct. Yep, the kiosk, the numbered spaces, yep.
Have we ever thought about this, the way other people do it, where you have to put the ticket in your windshield?
Pay and display?
Yeah,
No, no,
I mean, it's a pain in the neck, but in a situation like that where you've got some spaces, and maybe at the end of the day, when the construction's all over, it's gonna be moot.
but you mean the people who are paying should go back and we could see that they paid if they paid. They don't
Right.
have to go back and put something in their window.
But
'cause
if it was pay and display, you would probably make a mental note that you have to pay. She didn't notice that she had to pay.
Right, because she, I guess, didn't notice the signs in the
Yeah.
area that she had.
But the other, and I don't know, because I don't know the signage, but, and again, I don't mean to be like mixing metaphors here, but it's the same thing like over in the Playhouse where there's the one row of cars that it's a minimum of $2 or something. I texted you about that a while ago,
Yeah,
Stacy.
one row that's 6 hours
Yeah,
and
yeah.
for $3, right? And the other
And-
spaces are $1 an hour.
And I
max-
got an earful from somebody who's lived here, 30 years, that had no idea. So I do think that there needs to be clarity and signage, in these cases, whether it be temporary or long-term.
That it says, but the signage in all the other lots do say, pay for your space.
Right, but there aren't free spaces there. Or like in the.
There's no free spaces in the Playhouse lot. Are you talking about the
No,
reserves?
well, there is that one space that was reserved always for the Playhouse that had.
Right,
painted
there's 5 of
across
them.
it
Yep,
That said
yep,
it was reserved.
right.
So I do think that when the time comes and NCL has whatever their, area is, that they
Yep.
should be
A
painted.
little bit more signage or maybe,
right.
something
right.
else. Yep. When
But
we
for the
finally
time,
get that
but in these
configuration.
cases, like to your point, you've got Locust, you've got Playhouse with that one exception and the other municipal lots where there's not a combination of free and or paid. So it does lead to confusion.
I guess the one thing I'm just looking at this ticket again, or the appeal. It doesn't really say if she was going to the library or not. So was she going to town and didn't pay, or was she going to the library? That's where like having her here would have been, it would be
Oh,
helpful.
that is a really good point.
So like, because I was like, oh, she was going to the library, like it was fine. But then I read it and I was like, it's not clear that she didn't say she was
Well,
going to
she
the
didn't put
library.
it
So
in
maybe,
here, but I did talk to her and she said she was going to the library.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, when I spoke to her and told her how to appeal it, that's why she put, I was parked in a non-library designated zone.
Got it.
Okay,
I don't
Kevin,
know.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah, I can go either
I
way.
vote to
I
void.
mean, yeah, I'll vote to void too. I think that parking lot, like in its current configuration, is just too confusing. I think there needs to be painted spots that say visitor, better signage. Because if you look at the picture, that looks like the sign is behind the van. Like there was no, I don't think there's a spot in front of it that says like, hey, this is a paid spot.
Right. And it looks like the spot directly to her right would not be a paid spot because you would see the painting there.
It's just the number, just the way the picture is, there's a.
Oh, okay, there,
on
that
that
is,
space.
okay.
There's a number on both of those spaces. It really isn't that the majority of the library spaces are all together. I think there's one section that might be a little bit off, but that is only because we had to add in the spaces that are currently had to add in more spaces because there's spaces taken away from because of the construction.
So like if you look at this picture, there's like a car, a dark car facing all these white cars,
Mhm.
and there's like a sign next to it. Like I think those are library spots also. But then again, there's these like paid spots here, and then on the back end of these white cars, like where you can't see in the picture, those are library spots, right? So they're like kind of like here, there, like that. I think, you know, again, I if I remember correctly, which is why I think it's like confusing.
I moved to void, and you know we're ticking over into hour 2 here. Get the other everyone else to weigh in.
So we got a void,
Yep, void.
void,
Yeah.
void.
To void, yes.
Okay,
Wow.
all right. So I have your recommendations for Starbucks. I will look into that cloud information moving forward so that once you get your 5th member, you guys get your chairman, we can start putting things in the cloud and I can start uploading whatever you need. I will tell you that, Deanna will, and she's been very, very busy. You know, for these last few weeks, since being elected, but she will, moving forward, attend some of our meetings, and I know she is anxious to, work, focus on parking and work with you guys, in regards to parking. I know she has some ideas, and I know, she was looking forward to working with you on parking issues and recommendations and things like that. So she's very much focused on parking. Just been a little bit busy, you know, just getting into the new job. But she will be attending some of our future meetings. So I just wanted to put that out there for you. And next meeting is Wednesday, February 7th.
Actually, I actually have one quick question before you go, Stacy.
Sure.
When's the next time that you're going to the Board of Selectmen?
When is the next time I go to the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah,
I don't have anything to go to them for at this time. I'm not on their agenda unless I have to present something to them. So is there something that you want me to present?
oh no, I mean, can you just add to the list of things to do is to recommend to reduce the fine, be able to reduce the fines? Or
Oh,
get
sure,
a recommendation from them.
Yep. I will find out, recommend ability
Right.
to reduce fines. Reduce parking fines. Let me find out how, what needs to be done to do that, and
Yeah,
if
I
I
think
can
they have
go
a meeting
myself.
tomorrow morning, so it'll
I'm
probably be
sorry?
in like 2 weeks. I think they have a meeting tomorrow morning, so I think it'll be in like 2 weeks.
Right, they'll have to get me on the next agenda,
Mhm.
but I will, sure. Is there any kind of idea, when you say reduce, are you looking, you know, half? Are you looking at discussing, you know, I would recommend like some type of plan on what you, not just picking a number out of a hat.
Right. Well, I would
reducing
say,
half, some of the fines.
Yeah,
my thought on that, for instance, just using tonight's appeals as an example,
Mhm.
were that on that $75 ticket in front of the hydrant, if he had done something similar up the road in a no parking zone, it would have been $30. So it would be sort of using judgment based on, parity, I guess, not, again, handicapped stickers, designated by the municipality, I think are sort of sacred and need to be their own thing. But, and I'm making that point as it relates to the private lot at Starbucks tonight. But as it relates to the other municipal fines, the $50 for parking on the sidewalk versus the regular other class of tickets that were in that thing, which we ended up voiding. We upheld that one.
We
Okay,
have-
sorry. Mike,
Well,
don't.
I know
quote me on any
she,
of it.
I apologize for interrupting, but I know she says in a type of grouping, it wasn't in any specific grouping. The way it goes on the website is by violation number. So it's not because it's in a certain grouping on the
Okay.
site. It follows the number of the violation, which is easier to follow when you're looking at the violations. So if you started out at 42, then 44, then 45, those are the pricings for the different violations, but it's not necessarily a grouping of the violations. It's just the order of the violation number.
I
So the
see.
reason
Okay.
things are higher, like parking on a sidewalk or parking in front of a fire hydrant, is because it is more
dangerous.
I'll use it, excuse me?
It's because it's dangerous. Like you
And
should.
that's exactly the word I was going to use, but
Right.
more of a dangerous type of parking than somebody parking overtime. You just stayed a little longer, you park legally, you stayed a little longer, okay, that's gonna be less, but you're parking on a sidewalk and you're blocking somebody, you're blocking pedestrians from walking, you're parking in front of a fire hydrant. If there's a fire, firefighters can't get to that hydrant, a handicap zone. So there are reasons that there are certain violations that are higher. She seems to make them in a grouping. It's not that they're in a grouping, it's that it's going by a violation number.
Got it.
So. But
Yeah,
again,
I like
that
Nancy's
doesn't,
idea.
that doesn't take away the fact that if you wanted to recommend reducing it for some reason, you still would have the ability if it's approved. I just wanted to know what the reduction would be, half, just like you said. So there's really no parity
Right.
per se. So that's why for me, I would recommend saying, okay, if we're gonna reduce it, we'll just reduce it in half. And again, they might, board of selectmen might not go along with that, but at least you're giving them something to start with. Oh, but that's only my recommendation.
I like half.
I mean, half is more than reasonable, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. With certain violations, it's way more than reasonable.
So it would be up to half, would be maybe even the.
Okay,
Because I wouldn't want them to think that we were going to be slashing everything in half just because we have the latitude to
right.
make.
Or everybody's ticket, if they ask, could you,
Right.
I can't, so again, it has to be within
Yeah.
certain.
I think you could point out too that with minus tonight, which I think is unusual, that I mean, a lot of them, we have more upholds, I think, than
Yeah.
because there's regulations and this
Yes.
and that. And, I think we do a good job of following, the regulations to the T.
Yeah.
I agree. I think tonight was just an interesting set of cases. All righty. Well, to
I
choose,
have nothing else.
it's 9:11. May
Oh
I
my
make a
goodness.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Unanimous. Yes, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Stacy, and thanks for all your hard work. And I'm really sorry that renewal thing was such a pain in the neck.
It is what it is. We got through it.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
We did it. You know, sometimes it's a little worse than other times, but it's done. So we're good, and I'm hoping next year will be a lot better. So.
It will. Can only go up from here.
Alright. Thank
Alrighty.
you all so much. You have
Thanks
a great
again.
rest of the night, and I will see you next month. Please feel free
good.
to send me anything you want.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
on the agendas.
All right, super.
Thanks.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.